Ladies and gentlemen, anger is a powerful and deeply human emotion. It often arises when we feel threatened, disrespected, or when something violates our personal values. However, the immediate response to anger is typically impulsive and reactionary, leading us to say things that we might not truly mean or that do not align with our deeper intentions. In these moments, silence becomes not just a passive state but an active and intentional choice. It serves as a crucial tool for self-preservation and personal growth. When we speak in anger, our words are driven more by emotion than by reason. The brain's emotional center, the amygdala, often hijacks rational thinking during intense emotional states, pushing us to react rather than reflect. This reactionary behavior can lead to statements that are hurtful, damaging, and sometimes irreversible. Harsh words spoken in anger can fracture relationships that took years to build, create misunderstandings that could have been avoided, and even lead to outcomes that permanently alter our lives. Silence in these moments isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength and discipline. It demonstrates the ability to pause, to restrain oneself, and to process emotions before letting them dictate actions. Silence allows for reflection. It creates space between the emotional trigger and the response, offering the opportunity to evaluate the situation more objectively. In the heat of the moment, our perception is often clouded, and everything feels immediate and overwhelming. By choosing to remain silent, we give ourselves time to assess whether the issue truly warrants a reaction and, if so, what kind of response would be most constructive. This space is critical because it shifts our response from being emotionally charged to being thoughtfully considered. A few moments of silence can be the difference between escalating a conflict and resolving it peacefully. Silence during anger is a form of respect both for yourself and for others. When we react aggressively, we often lose respect for ourselves afterward. The regret of saying something cruel or unnecessary can linger far longer than the anger itself. Similarly, reacting harshly to others can cause them to lose respect for us, damaging the trust and connection in the relationship. Silence, on the other hand, can prevent this erosion of respect. It shows that you value the relationship enough not to harm it with reckless words. It demonstrates emotional intelligence and maturity, signaling that you are in control of your emotions rather than being controlled by them. Choosing silence during anger can prevent the escalation of conflict. Anger tends to feed off itself. When one person raises their voice, the other often feels compelled to raise theirs even higher, creating a cycle of hostility. Words become sharper, and the conflict grows. Silence disrupts this cycle. It halts the momentum of the argument, diffusing tension and preventing it from spiraling out of control. This does not mean that one must suppress their feelings indefinitely. Rather, it means delaying the response until emotions have settled, allowing for a more rational and meaningful conversation later. Silence also serves as a form of introspection. It forces us to confront our own emotions rather than projecting them outward. Often, anger is a surface emotion masking deeper feelings such as fear, insecurity, or hurt. By staying silent, we can explore these underlying emotions and understand the root cause of our anger. This self-awareness is essential for personal growth. It enables us to address the actual issue rather than reacting to a surface-level trigger. Without this introspection, we risk repeating the same patterns of behavior, reacting impulsively in similar situations over and over again. Moreover, silence during anger can be a powerful demonstration of self-control to others. People respect those who can maintain their composure under pressure. In professional settings, for instance, leaders who react calmly to stressful situations inspire confidence and trust. They show that they can handle challenges without resorting to blame or emotional outbursts. In personal relationships, a calm and composed demeanor fosters safety and trust, encouraging open and honest communication. Silence, in this context, becomes a leadership quality, a reflection of stability and inner strength. It's important to clarify that choosing silence in anger does not mean suppressing or ignoring the emotion. Anger is a valid and natural response to certain situations. The goal is not to eliminate anger but to manage it effectively. Silence provides the space needed to process anger healthily. It allows us to decide whether the issue at hand truly needs to be addressed and, if so, how to approach it constructively. This mindful approach ensures that when we do speak, our words are purposeful and impactful rather than reactionary and destructive. To remain silent in anger is not developed overnight. It requires practice and self-awareness. It involves recognizing the physical and emotional signs of anger, the quickening heartbeat, the tightening muscles, the racing thoughts, and making a conscious decision not to react immediately. Techniques such as deep breathing, counting to 10, or physically removing oneself from the situation can support this practice. Over time, this intentional pause becomes a habit, empowering us to handle anger with greater wisdom and control. Silence in moments of anger is a profound act of strength. It protects relationships, preserves self-respect, and prevents the escalation of conflict. It creates space for reflection, introspection, and thoughtful action. In a world that often encourages immediate reactions and constant expression, choosing silence is a radical and powerful choice. It is a testament to self-control, emotional intelligence, and personal responsibility. By mastering the art of silence in anger, we not only protect ourselves from regret but also cultivate a life marked by greater peace, respect, and understanding. In times of struggle, when others are facing challenges, it's crucial to recognize that not every situation requires our advice or intervention. Often, the most meaningful way we can support those who are experiencing hardship is through silence. This silence is not about indifference, but rather about understanding the power of being a presence without overwhelming someone with unsolicited advice or opinions. By remaining silent, we allow others the space they need to process their emotions, reflect on their situation, and find their own way forward. When someone is going through a difficult time, whether it be a personal loss, a professional setback, or a mental health struggle, they may not need us to provide solutions or fix their problems. In fact, offering advice too quickly can inadvertently diminish their feelings and make them feel unheard. Often, people are not looking for answers, they are seeking empathy and understanding. They need someone to listen to them without judgment, someone who will stand with them in their pain without rushing to offer a remedy. Silence, in these moments, becomes an act of deep empathy. It signals that we are fully present with the person, offering them a safe space to express themselves without fear of being interrupted or told what to do. There is a certain magic in the art of listening. When we listen without immediately formulating our response or thinking about how we can offer advice, we create a bond of trust with the other person. Listening carefully, without the need to speak, allows us to truly understand their situation, their feelings, and the complexity of their experience. This type of listening creates an environment where the person feels validated and supported. It provides them with the assurance that they are not alone in their struggle, even if they don't receive immediate solutions or advice. Silence during another person's struggle is a powerful way of respecting their autonomy. Everyone has their own way of dealing with challenges, and sometimes, we can unintentionally undermine someone's process by imposing our own beliefs or solutions onto them. By remaining silent, we allow them the dignity to make their own decisions, work through their emotions, and decide the path they want to take. This respects their individuality and reinforces that they are in control of their own life and choices. It's a delicate balance between offering support and giving space for personal growth. And silence allows us to maintain that balance. This approach is particularly important in situations where we may not fully understand what the person is going through. It's easy to assume that we know the right thing to say, especially if we've been through similar challenges ourselves. However, each individual's experience is unique, and what worked for us may not necessarily work for them. By remaining silent, We acknowledge that we don't have all the answers and that their experience is theirs to navigate. This humility creates a deeper connection and a sense of mutual respect. We are honoring their journey, not imposing our own perspective on them. In times of difficulty, it's also crucial to recognize that some people may not even want to talk about what they are going through. They may need time to process things internally before they are ready to share. Pushing someone to open up when they are not ready can cause them to retreat further. Silence, in this case, becomes a way of giving them the space they need to heal at their own pace. We are signaling that it's okay not to speak, that we are willing to wait until they are ready to share when the time is right for them. This patience speaks volumes and shows that we are not rushing them through their emotional process. Silence can sometimes be a healing force in itself. There are moments when words are simply not enough to express the depth of pain or difficulty someone is facing. In these situations, offering a comforting presence through silence can be more powerful than any words of comfort we might say. Sometimes, simply sitting with someone in their grief or distress is all that's needed to provide them with a sense of comfort and solidarity. The act of being there, without needing to fix anything, can help the person feel less isolated and more understood. It's in these quiet moments that true connection is forged. On the flip side, when we constantly feel the need to speak, we can become consumed with our own need to be heard or to help, even at the expense of the person who is struggling. This can create a dynamic where the focus shifts away from their needs and toward our desire to contribute. We may inadvertently shift the burden onto them, making them feel as though they are not allowed to process their emotions at their own pace or in their own way. By choosing silence, we put aside our own ego and needs, focusing entirely on the other person and their experience. It's also important to recognize that silence doesn't mean complete withdrawal. It's not about shutting down or ignoring someone. It's about offering a space where the other person can speak freely when they are ready, without the pressure to conform to our timeline or expectations. Silence in this sense is a supportive, conscious choice, and it communicates that we are there for them, not to solve their problems, but to be a steady, non-judgmental presence in their lives. Silence during others' struggles is one of the most powerful and compassionate things we can offer. It provides a space for the other person to be heard, to process their emotions, and to find their own path forward. It respects their autonomy, their individuality, and their unique journey through hardship. Silence doesn't imply indifference, it conveys empathy, understanding, and a deep respect for the complexity of the human experience. By practicing this silence, we can become more attuned to the needs of others and create relationships that are built on trust, patience, and mutual respect. There is a profound wisdom in choosing silence when it comes to speaking about our future plans. In a world that often values visibility and validation, it can be tempting to share our dreams, aspirations, and goals with others in an effort to gain support, approval, or simply recognition. However, there is a deeper and more powerful strategy in holding back and allowing our actions to be the proof of our intentions. Speaking prematurely about our goals can not only distract us from the task at hand but can also lead to unintended consequences that can affect our drive, focus, and even the outcome of our efforts. When we share our future plans, there is an inherent risk of becoming too attached to the idea of approval or validation. While it may feel satisfying to receive praise or encouragement from others, this external validation can sometimes be fleeting, and its absence can leave us feeling disheartened. More importantly, when we share too much, we might inadvertently place ourselves in a position where we feel a need to live up to others' expectations rather than our own. We begin to shape our actions based on the opinions of others, rather than the true desires and motivations that come from within. The act of speaking out loud about what we plan to do often leads to the illusion that we've already accomplished something, even though we've done little more than express an intention. This illusion can diminish the urgency and focus we need to pursue our goals. By keeping our plans to ourselves, we retain the energy and commitment required to bring them to life, without being distracted by unnecessary external noise. Talking about our plans too early can drain the very energy we need to execute them. There is a psychological phenomenon known as the premature boast, where verbalizing our goals gives us a temporary sense of accomplishment. We get a boost from the acknowledgement and praise of others, but this satisfaction is often short-lived. In some cases, the excitement and enthusiasm that comes from speaking about a goal can result in a false sense of progress, leading us to procrastinate or become less focused on the real work that needs to be done. The act of talking, rather than doing, can create a false sense of momentum, making us feel like we've already taken significant steps toward achieving our goals without having actually moved forward in any meaningful way. By choosing silence, we keep our focus on the actions that will truly move us forward, rather than being distracted by the temporary gratification that comes with talking about our intentions. Another significant reason to remain silent about our future plans is that sharing them with others can invite unnecessary opinions and criticism, some of which may not be constructive or helpful. Everyone has their own perspective on what is possible or realistic, and while some feedback can be valuable, not all of it will be in alignment with our vision. Others may project their own fears, doubts, and limitations onto our plans, offering advice that can potentially undermine our confidence and discourage us from pursuing our dreams. When we speak too freely about our aspirations, we open ourselves up to scrutiny and judgment that may not be warranted. In some cases, the well-meaning but misplaced advice of others can introduce doubt and uncertainty into our minds, leading us to question whether our goals are truly achievable. By keeping our plans to ourselves, we protect them from being influenced by the limiting beliefs of others, preserving the clarity and conviction needed to bring them to fruition. Speaking too much about our future can often lead to a loss of focus and a decrease in our sense of urgency. When we tell people about what we plan to do, it's easy to fall into the trap of seeking external validation or sharing the progress we've made along the way. This constant need for external acknowledgement can distract us from the deep work that is required to achieve our goals. Instead of putting our energy into actual progress, we spend time explaining ourselves or seeking approval. The more we talk about our plans, the less energy we have to channel into the actions required to make them reality. Silence, in this case, serves as a method of self-discipline. It keeps us grounded in the understanding that words alone will not get us closer to our goals. Only consistent, focused action will lead to real achievement. Silence about our future plans also allows us to cultivate an element of surprise. There is an undeniable power in letting actions speak louder than words. When we hold off on sharing our goals and instead work steadily toward them, we allow our progress to speak for itself. The satisfaction of surprising others with the results of our hard work can be far more rewarding than simply talking about our intentions. When others see the fruits of our labor, they recognize our commitment and perseverance, and the admiration we receive is more genuine and rooted in the tangible evidence of our efforts. This quiet approach builds credibility and trust, as people are more likely to believe in the authenticity of our success when it has been earned through dedication and consistent action. Keeping our future plans to ourselves also fosters a sense of internal motivation and self-reliance. When we focus on the journey rather than the validation of others, we develop a deeper connection to our goals. Our motivation becomes intrinsic, coming from our own desires and aspirations, rather than from the external recognition or support of others. This internal drive is much stronger and more sustainable than the fleeting boost we might get from sharing our plans with others. It keeps us grounded in our purpose and ensures that we remain true to ourselves throughout the process. Remaining silent about our future plans can be one of the most powerful strategies for achieving success. By keeping our goals to ourselves, we preserve our energy, focus, and motivation, and we shield ourselves from unnecessary distractions, opinions, and criticisms. Silence allows us to move forward with clarity and conviction, trusting in the process and letting our actions speak for themselves. In a world that often prizes words over deeds, there is great strength in choosing to let our results reveal the true extent of our efforts. By embracing silence, we empower ourselves to work diligently, with purpose and discipline, toward the realization of our dreams. Silence is often misunderstood as mere inaction or passivity, but in reality, It is a powerful demonstration of self-control. In a world that encourages constant communication, noise, and reaction, the ability to remain silent speaks volumes about an individual's discipline and emotional intelligence. Choosing silence, especially when emotions are heightened or situations demand clarity, is a mark of strength, resilience, and maturity. It is an active decision to exercise restraint, ensuring that what is said is thoughtful, measured, and intentional. This kind of self-control is not just about withholding words, it's about mastering one's emotional responses and cultivating a sense of inner peace amidst external chaos. When we are able to remain silent in the face of strong emotions, such as anger, frustration, or even excitement, we demonstrate that we are in control of our reactions. Emotions are often fleeting and can cloud our judgment, making us more likely to say things we might regret later. In these moments, silence becomes a tool for emotional regulation. Rather than allowing our emotions to dictate our words or actions, we take a pause, giving ourselves the space to process and reflect. This pause is not weakness, but a profound exercise in emotional intelligence. It shows that we are aware of our feelings but choose to respond thoughtfully, rather than reacting impulsively. By mastering this form of self-control, we avoid saying things that could damage relationships, create misunderstandings, or derail important conversations. Silence in the face of adversity or challenge is an expression of resilience. Life often presents us with difficult circumstances, and it is easy to succumb to frustration, defeat, or the temptation to complain. However, choosing silence in such moments allows us to gather our strength, assess the situation with a clear mind, and determine the best course of action. Rather than dwelling on the negative or becoming overwhelmed by the situation, we take a step back, internalize the experience, and decide how we want to proceed. This resilience is not born out of ignoring our emotions or suppressing our pain, but out of the wisdom to recognize when silence is the most powerful response. In these moments, silence enables us to conserve our energy and focus on solutions, rather than getting lost in the noise of emotional turmoil. To emotional regulation, silence also fosters clarity of thought. When we speak without first pausing to think, our words often lack depth or accuracy. The mind can be clouded by a multitude of thoughts, emotions, and external stimuli, making it difficult to communicate effectively. By choosing silence before responding, we allow our minds to organize our thoughts and ensure that our message is clear and coherent. This type of self-control enables us to speak with purpose, ensuring that our words have meaning and weight. It allows us to respond with intention, rather than with the urgency or impulsiveness that often accompanies unfiltered speech. By controlling our words, we ensure that we communicate more effectively, with greater precision and impact. Silence also provides the opportunity for active listening. True listening is not just about hearing the words that are spoken, but about understanding the underlying emotions, intentions, and context. When we choose silence, we create space for others to express themselves fully, without the interruption of our own thoughts or reactions. In conversations, particularly in moments of disagreement or conflict, silence can serve as a powerful tool for deepening understanding. It signals to the other person that we are fully present and engaged, that we are not just waiting for our turn to speak, but that we are actively trying to understand their perspective. This level of attentiveness and empathy fosters stronger connections and builds trust, as the other person feels heard and validated. Choosing silence also helps to cultivate patience, another vital aspect of self-control. In a world where instant gratification is the norm, it can be challenging to practice patience. Whether in our personal lives or in the professional realm, we are often encouraged to speak quickly, act quickly, or respond immediately. However, true wisdom often lies in the ability to pause, reflect, and wait for the right moment. Silence allows us to resist the urge for immediate action or reaction and teaches us to trust in the process, to wait for the right time to speak or to act. This patience allows us to navigate difficult situations with greater composure, making decisions based on careful thought rather than impulsive emotion. It also fosters a sense of inner peace, As we learn to trust that things will unfold in their own time and that we do not need to rush or force outcomes, silence cultivates humility. In many social situations, there is pressure to speak, to offer our opinions, or to assert our dominance in conversations. However, the ability to remain silent, especially in environments where others are eager to speak, demonstrates that we do not feel the need to constantly assert ourselves. Silence in these contexts shows that we are comfortable with who we are and that we do not need external validation or recognition. It reflects a deep sense of self-confidence and self-assurance, as we are secure enough in our own beliefs and values to not need to continuously express them. This humility is often misinterpreted as passivity, but in reality, it requires a great deal of strength to resist the pressure to constantly speak or dominate a conversation. In relationships, both personal and professional, silence also plays a key role in maintaining balance and harmony. In moments of tension or disagreement, silence can be the antidote to escalation. Rather than engaging in heated arguments or saying things that may hurt feelings, silence offers an opportunity to cool down and collect our thoughts. It provides the necessary space to reflect on our emotions and to decide if responding is truly necessary or if letting go is a better course of action. By choosing silence, we often find that conflicts resolve more peacefully, and relationships are strengthened rather than damaged. Silence is not simply a lack of words, it is a powerful tool for self-control, emotional regulation, and personal growth. It is a demonstration of inner strength, patience, and wisdom, and it fosters clarity, understanding, and humility. By learning to embrace silence, we develop the ability to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively, to listen actively and with empathy, and to navigate life's challenges with resilience and grace. In a world that often values speed, noise, and constant activity, the ability to remain silent is a rare and invaluable skill, one that enhances our communication, enriches our relationships, and adds to a more fulfilling and peaceful life. The idea of remaining silent in the face of conflict is often one of the hardest principles to apply, especially in a culture that thrives on confrontation and seeking resolution through debate. Yet, silence during conflict is one of the most powerful tools for achieving peace, understanding, and long-term resolution. When emotions are running high and tempers are flaring, our instinct is often to defend ourselves, counter the arguments of others, or assert our own perspective. However, it's important to understand that conflict, when approached through silence, can be transformed from a destructive force into a moment of clarity and growth. One of the key reasons why silence in conflict can be so effective is that it allows emotions to cool and rational thinking to take over. In the heat of the moment, when we are emotionally charged, our ability to think clearly and respond thoughtfully is significantly diminished. Our reactions are often driven by fear, anger, or frustration, which cloud our judgment and make it difficult to see the bigger picture. Silence, in this case, is not about giving up or avoiding the issue. Rather, it is a conscious decision to pause and create space between the emotion and the reaction. By taking a step back and choosing silence, we allow ourselves time to process the situation and to avoid impulsive reactions that could escalate the conflict. This pause not only prevents us from saying things that might be regretted later, but also creates the mental space needed to approach the situation from a place of calmness, rather than from a place of heightened emotion. Another important reason to choose silence during conflict is that it shifts the dynamic of the interaction. When we remain silent in the face of disagreement, we refuse to engage in the cycle of escalation that often fuels the conflict. In many cases, conflicts intensify because both parties are speaking over each other, each trying to make their point louder or more forcefully than the other. This exchange of words, without truly listening or understanding, leads to a deadlock where neither side feels heard or respected. Silence, however, breaks this cycle. It shifts the focus away from the competition of words and places the emphasis on understanding, introspection, and empathy. When one person chooses silence, it often compels the other person to pause and reflect on their own words and actions. It creates a space where the heat of the argument can be diffused, and both parties have the opportunity to reconsider their stance and approach the situation with greater clarity and thoughtfulness. Silence also provides the opportunity for better listening, which is often the key to resolving conflict. In conflict situations, we are so focused on defending our own position that we forget the importance of truly listening to the other person. Active listening involves not just hearing the words that are being spoken, but also understanding the underlying emotions, intentions, and needs. It is through listening that we gain insight into the other person's perspective, which is essential for finding common ground. Silence allows us to listen fully and attentively, without the distraction of preparing our next argument or response. In these moments, silence becomes a tool for empathy, allowing us to understand the feelings and needs of the other person. By listening without immediately reacting, we create an environment where both sides can express themselves openly and be heard without judgment. Silence can be an expression of strength and control. In a conflict, the temptation to win or to assert dominance can be overwhelming. We might feel the need to overpower the other person with our words or force them to acknowledge our perspective. However, true strength in conflict lies in the ability to stay composed and maintain control over our emotions and reactions. Silence, in this context, becomes a form of inner strength. It shows that we are not driven by the need to prove ourselves or to control the situation, but rather that we are confident enough to hold our ground without engaging in unnecessary verbal combat. This self-control not only helps to de-escalate the conflict but also commands respect from the other party, who may come to see that their attempts to provoke a reaction,